So today we're going to be looking at a project life cycle. So what is a project life cycle? So a project life cycle, these are high level stages that will help you to achieve the idea that you have, the idea of the project. So what are these stages? Number one, project identification. So the number one stage in the project life cycle is project identification, and number two we have project preparation. After you have a project preparation, then you have a project appraisal, and then you have implementation and monitoring, and finally you evaluate your project. So those are the main 5 stages that you can consider when developing a project proposal. Now, what is the concern when you are identifying a project? So identification of the project, this is the beginning, this is the start. So they can be different motives for you to have a project, right? It could be possibly maybe a crisis or maybe a certain situation, right? And there could be different kind of motivation behind the project. It can either be politically motivated, for political gain, or maybe it can be for public good. Sometimes it can also be for private benefit for an individual, for instance. When it comes to identification of a project, one of the main critical issues is the agreement of different stakeholders concerning the project. So who are the main stakeholders? So you have primary stakeholders, secondary stakeholders, and key stakeholders. The primary stakeholders, these are the project beneficiaries, otherwise referred to as the principal project beneficiaries. And then we have key stakeholders. So the key stakeholders, these are the agents of change. So this could be the donor company that is the giving you money for implementation of that particular project, or maybe the one who is implementing the project. And then you also have secondary stakeholders. Secondary stakeholders, these are indirectly related to the project. Like for instance, you have like for any kind of project that you might want to implement here in Malawi, you would want to involve the government, even though they're not going to be helping you do activities on a day-to-day basis, but then you involve them in the process of identification, even monitoring, right? So they become secondary stakeholders. After identification, the next stage is the preparation. At this stage, there is a detailed presentation of whatever activities must be carried out. So what are the things that you are going to be doing, right? So you list them down and you plan concerning how you are going to go about it, right? So you answer questions like, how are you going to reach out to the project beneficiaries? How are you going to get there? Who is going to be involved? What is going to be required? So you prepare for the project. So the third stage is the project appraisal, a very important step whenever you're implementing a project. So what is involved whenever you're doing a project appraisal? Usually here you are trying to figure out whether indeed it is worthwhile for you to implement the project or not, right? So possibly there might be an alternative thing that you can do rather than for you to implement the project, or maybe for you not to implement the project at all. And so the main aspects of appraisal are, number one, we have technical appraisal, institutional appraisal, economic appraisal, and financial appraisal. So the technical appraisal mostly looks at the feasibility of the project, right? Looking at the geographical location. Are you able to reach to the area, right? Also looking into issues to do with technology. Do you have the right technology for you to reach out to the people in the area that you want to reach out to? Not only do you want to have relevant technology, but also you want to have professional people who are technically capable of doing the work that you want to do. So if these things they're not there, most likely you might not be able to do the project. The other aspect of a project appraisal is the institutional appraisal. So this looks at the availability of institutions which are supporting or which are in favor of your project. For instance, you might want to be implementing a project in relation to development of certain policies, concerning a certain issue. Now, if you don't have institutions that can help you for the same, most definitely you cannot be able to implement the project. And then the other important aspect of a project appraisal is the financial appraisal. This looks at the availability of finances, right? So if you don't have the finances, most likely you will not be in a position to implement the project, right? Sometimes you might want to lower down the budget levels. And another important aspect of a project appraisal is an economic appraisal, which looks at the cost-benefit analysis, right? Do the benefits of the project outweigh the cost? If yes, then good to go, you can implement the project. If not, possibly maybe you can look at an alternative, something different. So you will also be looking at issues to do with the opportunity cost. What is the next best alternative that you can possibly do? So that's about it concerning a project appraisal. After you have done the project appraisal and you feel like it is indeed worthwhile to implement the project, you go to the fourth step, which is the implementation and monitoring. What is implementation? Implementation is whereby all the predetermined activities, they are carried out in a planned manner. So everything that you had planned in the second phase, you will now be in a position to implement those activities and those interventions. As you start implementing the interventions, immediately you also need to start monitoring. And what is monitoring? Monitoring, this is the keeping watch on the progress of a project to see if you're on track or not. So that is the fourth step, implementation and monitoring. And then finally, after you have implemented, project evaluation. And what is project evaluation? Project evaluation, this is the assessment of a project's impact, relevance, efficiency, effectiveness, and also sustainability. Right, so in terms of the relevance, this talks about where the activities or the interventions of the project relevant to the people's needs. And then when you're talking about efficiency, you're looking at how efficient was the project in terms of usage of resources. And then the other thing that you also evaluate the project on is the sustainability. Did the project put in enough sustainability mechanisms to ensure continuity of the interventions after the project phases out? And also you also conduct a project evaluation concerning the impact to understand what is the change that has happened in people's lives. Has the project brought about any difference in people's lives? Yes or no? That's about it in terms of a project life cycle. In the future videos, we're going to be looking further to understand what is project monitoring, what are some of the aspects of project monitoring, but also we're going to be understanding in detail what is project evaluation. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like the video, but also leave comments in terms of what you have learned or maybe what you feel like other people might need to know concerning a project life cycle. And I'll be looking forward to see you again in our next video when we're going to be continuing on understanding projects and then how to develop a project.